Hey, what's up, folks? It's me. I don't really need to even say what I am. Um, this is gonna be different from usual videos I try to do. Whether it be when I speak in front of the camera or streaming and all that jazz, as you could tell. And based off the title alone, you can guess why. And I actually questioned about this. I When I heard the news, and the way I found out was actually I think it was at night, and it was a couple of nights ago. I think it was Friday night and or Thursday night. I think it was Thursday night, and I happened to see one of the channels I subscribe to, um, comic strips. He was doing a video about he was drawing about he was drawing Goku, and he's like, Akira Toriyama died, and I was like, wait, what? And I looked into it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, man, like that's wild. And I I think what's so I questioned about doing this because I didn't want to seem like one of those people that like, oh, I'm just following into it, whatever. And I'm not saying that everybody who's done a video, uh, we're doing for clout or whatever. It's like I can honestly imagine and understand that how much of an influence Akira Toriyama was, and I'm just gonna be real quick that I um I don't really have. It's hard for me to really. It's not to say I don't care, or it's not sad to me that whenever a celebrity dies, because a death can be tragic and such, I do have my beliefs and such, but I'm not going to go into all of that. But the thing is that like I never really feel close, like when that person wasn't really a friend. Like I've cried at when real close friends are our family members have died and such. That's a thing, and I haven't cried about this, but I think the one thing, and this kind of sparked from talking with my girlfriend last night, that um, like how much of an influence like Akira Toriyama, particularly his work Dragon Ball Z, really was to me. And the image I'm going to put on here, and I might do a series, but the major image I you may notice is that the characters, they're wearing a shirt, and they're wearing like blue themed, and the characters I hope to one day make it to a reality in the future. But for the time being, um, these are just characters I drew, and you could probably see on the date that I drew this like 2 years ago. And I actually remember when I drew that I was teaching at at a private Christian school, and I was going through, some hardships and such, and I was just like, I was just getting upset and blah blah blah, all that jazz, and you know, but I started getting into game development. I tried wanting to make a game, and I just drew those characters, and I kind of was trying to make homage to Sonic as well. Um, but the thing is that the reason why I'm doing this is because, well, I do want people to know, like, in case if people ever wonder when they see some of my future work or my ideas and such, where they come from. Um, I gotta say that a lot of it stems from um, Akira Toriyama works. Um, yeah, he is definitely influential. I actually remember when I was young, I was real young, in the '90s, and Toonami and such. Dragon Ball Z was on, and it just blew my mind. Like I was that kid where it was like every day after school, after elementary school, I would go home and I'd want to watch just the newest episode of Dragon Ball Z, and like I was there when it was like first aired with like Goku became Super Saiyan and things like Cell and the Buu Saga and such. And yeah, there's just so much. Like I drew, and I want to say honestly, I think honestly my style and my love for drawing, the anime aesthetic came from Dragon Ball Z. Like I was, it's like I told my girlfriend last night. I actually remember. I think it was one of those Scholastics book fairs where I got a How to Draw Dragon Ball Z book, and it was one of those really cheap ones. It was super thin and whatnot, and I used to like trace in there and like even try a little bit, what they try to teach. And I actually remember me and my brother, my older. Uh, I'm the youngest. My big brother and we had an idea for games. We always kind of had ideas for making games. And I actually remember the first game I wanted to make was the sort of Dragon Ball Z inspired game, and so we took like characters from there. Like I want to say Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta when they were in their like Saiyan suits and such, and we drew them up and we wrote a letter to Sony, I believe, and we were like, hey guys, can we want to pitch this idea to you? Like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? I wish I had that. And I wish I also had the letter, 'cause this was like way, way long time ago. Like, it's like, my goodness, like a little over 20 years ago. It's like, but we got a letter back, and we were essentially, it wasn't email, mind you, it was letters, so it was like actual paper and such. And we got told we could that they liked the idea, but they were like, no, because essentially, pretty much they don't have the rights. But they're like, they encourage us, like, if you have any like ideas of your own, like, try to pitch it and such. And I thought that was cool. So like I say, like a lot of my personality and such stems from just like the love of Dragon Ball Z and such. And I remember when I was young, I used to my then brother-in-law, he had all these tapes of Dragon Ball Z, and I remember like actually seeing he had the VHS tape of the movie 4, and I think it was movie 4 and movie. Was it movie 4 and movie 3? I think it was that, and then the Lord Slug and such, and it was like kind of bootleg. And he also had like a bunch of the Funimation like uncut versions, so it was like so weird. Like I remember he had the one where it's the the Kai tournaments, the Kai Plans tournament, after the Cell Saga, and you hear like, they say hell, and Goku's all like, hey, don't say that. And I was like, what? Like they say hell? Cause like in case you don't, you never seen them in the English dub when it was airing on Tanami, on Cartoon Network. I think it was called HFIL. It was like, Home for Immortal Losers or something like that. It was, something like that. Yeah, it was like, it was pretty funny, but it was so wild. And I also remember like he had the one where later on when Videl was fighting Sokovich, and like when he punched her in the face, it was like blood, and it was like, what? Like it was so wild. But yeah, but all that to say, like I used to play a lot of the games, and All this is just bring up the fact that like there's so many memories. A lot of my memories honestly can stem to like, my love for Dragon Ball Z. And I don't think any other series, any other work has really done that for me. Like I've tried for years, like to try to be like whenever people ask me like my favorite manga and series. There was a period where I did say JoJo's and like One Piece and all that, but honestly, I gotta say Dragon Ball. Like there's just so much to it. Like love the characters, love the art style, and and just the humor and everything. One of the videos basically, it's like this one I tried to do the defense or whatever, and yeah, and I mean, even like I will admit I've always wanted to do video essays. Always wanted to do blogs and video essays, but life always got to me. But I always had in mind of like Dragon Ball Z would come first. Things like, for instance, um, like I thought about doing one about the how each of the villains in Dragon Ball Z represent a certain sin and such, and all of that. And like that was actually one of the first ideas. I just never got to do it. Um, and yeah, and then like just the ideas and like by a certain love for certain types of stories. I've always liked action, shonen based stories or things kind of like X-Men. Like if I had to put like, on spectrum, like on what would be my favorite between, I would say Eastern and Western. Dragon Ball Z would be very much Eastern based, and then X-Men would be, you know, the Western base of or Marvel in general, it's just like all the different influences and things like characters, how the power scaling, just like each character has a unique ability, and people scream out abilities, blah blah blah, all this and that, and yeah. Um, And I actually even remember when I was in middle school, I used to draw a lot, and fellow kids would ask me, they're like, "Oh, what's your favorite?" And who's your favorite artist? Whenever I got asked that, I would always turn to Akira Toriyama. I always say Akira Toriyama is my favorite and such, and then it's just like, yeah, like I mean. I feel like every time whenever I look at his work, there's always something like his work. I'm not even going to go into so much of the anime per se, because I mean the anime. I mean, obviously, it's based on his work, but like his manga illustrations is just phenomenon, phenomenal. It's just things like, for instance, um, like little things like how you notice that as time went on, his art became more sharper and almost kind of like that sort of sketchy look, like back then it was more round and fine, and then later on, like I said, it kind of had that. I'm gonna kind of say that Togashi touch, where it's like characters are defined or their shapes, but they're sharp, and then like they have like that sketch, like I said, that sketch look. Like it's like he just pinned it, like he didn't, like he just put the lines on it. He didn't think about it. He didn't have to. He just did it. Or like touches, like for instance, Boo. The whole how his hand, like actually. Kid Buu doesn't even have fingers in the manga. Like he has one finger, I think, and like a thumb. But then the rest is glop compared to like in the anime they gave him fingers. It's just little touches like this. It's just it's also to look at. But the thing is that, yeah, I can say honestly, like a lot of his stuff meant a lot, and And I'm honestly grateful to God. Like, just it's just stuff like this just makes you think like you never it's hard to really appreciate at times or even recognize how influential somebody could be, even if you never met the person. Even if you never met the person, even if you never talked to them or anything like that. Or yeah, knew them personally, all that jazz. Like that, how much they meant to you, even when years went by. And trust me, like I've read all kinds of manga and watched all kinds of anime and read all kinds of comics and read all kinds of books like over time and such. I wouldn't even be like, if, as far as influences for writing, on the one hand, like Stephen King was that. And I was actually shocked because I don't really like horror stuff, but I read like his book, The Eyes of the Dragon. And I was like, man, this is a dope book. And it made me want to inspire to write books. And I actually went into English because of that. But I will say that that in that writing, there was still a touch of Dragon Ball Z. There was still a touch of Akira Toriyama, surprisingly influencing me. Like I actually wrote a book, and I never self published it, but I had like the whole power thing and just the way characters were emotional and such, and super moves and everything. Um, and yeah, and then as I play, tabletops and all that jazz and worked on tabletop games, again, Dragon Ball Z would come to mind. And it's just like, as you can probably see, like, just the way the art and how it works and such, like what I've been doing, like, even though like there's been other stuff in my life and I study from other artists like on here, or like a bunch of YouTubers and such. Um, Whenever I show people my artwork, whether it be my friends or it be my students, whenever I taught, I would teach anime drawing from time to time, or any art class, or just a random person if they saw my artwork. A lot of times, they'll sometimes they'll go to Togashi, but then they'll also point out Dragon Ball Z. That'll be one of the major things. They'll be like, "Oh, it reminds me of Dragon Ball. It reminds me of Akira Toriyama," and I'd be like, "Yeah." Like I do, like almost every of my characters. A lot of my characters tend to have baggy pants, and again, thank Dragon Ball Z for that. Um, yeah, and then even like when I look at other works, a lot of times I tend to compare it to Dragon Ball Z. Um, and then over time, like there were moments where I would be like, "Oh man, this is so overhyped" or whatever. But then there are times where I'm like, "This is actually well done writing and such." Um, Particularly Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Um, Maybe a little bit of GT, sometimes Super, but yeah, like particularly the major two. Um, and then of course it's not even just that. I mean, you can even look at the Dragon Quest artwork. It's like, oh my gosh, like I start working there, or Chrono Trigger. Man, it's really awesome. And I even right now I'm even thinking about Tobo #1 and such. And it's just like it's just really awesome. A lot of things he's done. Even like Blue Dragon, the 360 game. I remember my dad, he was getting a 360 and such. And I remember like the first game I really wanted to play was I wanted to get was Blue Dragon. I may do a video on that one day. But I got it because of the artwork. I was just so hyped about the art and such. Um, but yeah, and I would say this. It's like, I feel like there may be some people who may, like I said, like a lot of people have said this, and a lot of bigger people obviously have said this. But I will point out that, like, I wonder if this. I mean, I imagine um, Akira Toriyama, like, when he was making his works, he just, the one thing I noticed about his stuff, and this is the one thing I really need to put into my own thing, and um, really want to encourage other people as well, is that I could just tell whenever he worked on something um, that he really cared about, like there was a lot of fun behind it. I think of Sandland. I think of like Kawa. I think of all these things. Even Dragon Ball. Like, I mean, I know there was a point where he kind of wanted to drop it at some point, but you could just tell like he still cared, and like, and it wasn't even that he cared for himself. He cared for other people. Um, and so, like, as I'm working on my stuff, as I'm working on things like whether it be streaming or it be the game development or whatever I do, I gotta try to remember that there's love behind it, and that of course, um, just think about the good and all of that, and how much of a blessing a lot of this stuff is. And yeah, um, it's crazy as I'm reflecting, and I think this is just a means for me to really just reflect on this stuff, you know, and and yeah, like I'm I'm grateful to God for the people He puts in my life, and even the people I don't ever get to meet. How much they mean to me, and like how they help me in a positive light. And yeah, um, that being said, I want to do a thing. If if you I'm gonna say like real quick, I'm gonna offer a prayer, and if you don't want to hear it, that's fine. You can go ahead and just I'll leave. But thank you if you stuck around this long for watching. But this prayer is just for people who are grieving. I know his family is grieving and those close to him, but I also want to pray for people who are like me, where when you were that kid that you were awkward, whether you were that kid or you're even like a person now that's awkward because you love Dragon Ball Z or you love anime or you love something that other people don't get, and you feel like a shut-in and such, and you think to yourself that this doesn't get you anywhere. um because I will point this out real quick, just this one last story. I should have probably said this before, to other people. But if you stuck around after that, cool. Um, I remember once upon a time, yeah, I would, like I said, there was a lot of positives, like I said, but there was some negatives too. And like I said, I was that kid that, or even as I grew up into the adult, that was socially awkward. And I remember, like, even my family kind of would kind of reject, the idea of me getting into anime or watching Dragon Ball Z and drawing, and how they would just like, shun me and such. And I remember that they would say like things like, particularly my folks would say things like, "Oh, like you're never gonna do anything with it, blah blah. It's pointless. I don't know why you're into this stuff, blah blah." And I get that even like with some of my fellow adult colleagues and such. But I remember back in 2015, there was a period where I wasn't drawing for a while, and I remember I showed a friend a drawing because he was trying to do a podcast, and I was like, "Oh, I want to draw," and I showed him, and he told me to like go back. He's like, "You should draw. You should try drawing again." And so I did, and I practiced, and I actually studied from another friend. Gave me some pointers, and eventually it led to I saw a post on Facebook. Somebody asking for drawing anime, and I was like, "Yeah, cool, I'll do that." And but it was a teaching gig. And ever since 2016, every summer I would be teaching anime drawing. And I'm also making games. And I at times even get to showcase anime whenever I'm teaching English. I'm actually getting teary eyed right now. And all that because I happened to see Dragon Ball Z and read Dragon Ball, the manga, and because I wanted to tell awesome stories like that. And now I could tell little kids, I could tell teenagers and younger kids, these kids who, when they feel awkward at school because they love anime and such, that, but they feel like, an outcast, I can tell them it's okay. And so when I say this prayer, it's for those who look at their influences and they feel like it could be a good thing to them. Whether it's just like, they can make something, or they could just, it's something for them to relax or whatever. That they make their work and they enjoy it and they love every single bit of it. And know that it is okay to be themselves. And to know that God made them that way. And that He puts people in your lives for reasons you may never understand. Until like I'm realizing right now that even though I never met Him, I am grateful. I am grateful that God put Akira Toriyama on this earth. And He made awesome things. And He drew awesome things. And that I strive to draw and do the same. And of course, like I said, I pray for his family. I pray for those in his life. And I pray for you. Anybody hearing this. That you be encouraged to grow. And to know that, it doesn't matter. Your life matters. And it's to ask that you just, when it comes to your influences, even though there might be some stuff like, there's some stuff in Dragon Ball Z and Dr. Slump and blah, 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 all that jazz that he wasn't a saint. He didn't do perfect things, it wasn't very, it wasn't all wholesome and such. But you don't focus on that stuff. That you focus on the things that that can encourage you to walk a positive life. And, even if it's like, and if you need, somebody, if you need a prayer, it's always could be like, let me know or let somebody know, and yeah, it's all that jazz. This is more for just those who want to feel at peace and know that I'll say this, there is a God that does care about you, that does love you because He made you. I'm going to go ahead and pray now. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this blessed day. Thank you for today. Thank you for everything you've done, for the people you put in our lives, Lord. The people whom we either meet in person or the people we don't ever meet. The people whom we may call our friends or colleagues or family members, our mentors, or people that are just we call celebrities and such. We thank you for every person that you put on this earth, Lord. You never made a mistake, Lord. You are perfect. Father, I pray that you be with Akira Toriyama's family, Lord, and bring them peace, Lord. Give them peace of mind. And if it's your will, Lord, I pray that you bring them to you to see peace in you. For it says, is there your son that we're able to have peace? And Lord, I pray for those who are grieving, whether it be his friends or colleagues or those whom he discipled, or even the people who watched his works or read his works and inspired to be like him. Lord, I pray that you be with these people. Lord, I pray for those who, like I mentioned, who feel ashamed or shut-ins because they love certain things or they get into certain things, Lord. Things that are not totally bad. Like art, manga, anime, movies, video games, and such. Lord, I pray that you give those people an encouragement to to grow, Lord, to be at peace with themselves, that to know that you made them, Lord. I pray that they use these interests in godly ways, if possible, Lord, or just positive ways, Lord. Lord, may they not take away. Uh, may they not be influenced by the wicked things. For everything on this earth is not perfect, Lord. But they instead look at the good. And I pray to you, Father, that they look to you and they say, thank you for allowing me to be who I am and to grow. I pray that I pray if it is your will that they look to you. But I also pray, Lord, that you just give them peace of mind and just enjoy. And Lord, surround them with people who do care. I forgot to even mention like how a lot of my friendships are based around the fact that, we love Dragon Ball Z or we love things that influence us from Dragon Ball Z or from Akira Toriyama. I pray to you, God, that you give those people closures. Thank you, Father, for all that you do. You are awesome. And I just pray that you allow us to rest. And Lord, again, be with the family of Akira Toriyama and be with his many, many fans. And thank you so much for allowing him to work as much as he did. Uh, I hope that I hope that his works continue to influence others in good, positive ways, even after his passing. Thank you, Lord. In your son's name, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Um, like I said, I know this is totally different from what I normally do. But I'm glad that I did it. And yeah, have a blessed one. Peace.